For an athlete, knowing when to hang them up is a tough science, especially if you haven't won the ultimate prize. Some athletes try and stretch a career out longer than they should in a shameless attempt at one last ride for the ship, and then there are others who were clearly at the end of the road and were fortunate enough to go out on top. Kind of like dying on top of a woman. Anyways, here are 5 Hall of Fame athletes who went out on top. Number 5. Jerome Bettis. Few things align more perfectly for the bus in his final NFL season. The Colts absolutely taking a dump on their home field in their divisional playoff game.
We're talking about our idiot kicker who got liquor.
The Super Bowl being played in his hometown, the refs handing over a few favorable calls, and one trick play which sealed the deal. Fitting that it was Super Bowl XL, as Bettis, the 5'11", 255-pound running back who amassed 13,662 career rushing yards and scored 91 rushing TDs, finally climbed the mountain and put the stamp on an amazing career. And I have to give Jerome credit, he had a great line to announce his retirement right on the podium in Detroit. I played this game for a championship, I'm a champion, and I think the bus's last stop is here in Detroit. And probably after that, an all-you-can-eat buffet. Number 4, Michael Strahan. What very few remember about Michael Strahan's last year is before that season started, he really wasn't interested in playing. Tiki Barber had already quit, people were questioning Eli Manning's ability as a QB, and TC was being too hard on the G-men. Strahan was able to hold out and skip training camp, joining the team for week 1, and then setting in motion a devastating pass rush that deliciously sacked Donovan McNabb into Bolivia one night. Still, the season was looking rough, and the locker room was allegedly divided. And Strahan, the 15-year veteran, approached Tom Coughlin to ask him to stop being such a dick. And it worked, as the G-men got it together and pulled off one of the greatest upsets in sports history.
17-14 at the final, okay?
Beating the then undefeated Patriots in Super Bowl 42. Strahan would retire with 141.5 career sacks and was elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2014. He also is an accomplished talk show host and still hasn't had that gap in his teeth fixed. Number 3, David Robinson. There was not much the Admiral hadn't accomplished in his career. David Robinson, a graduate of the Naval Academy who got out of serving in the Navy because he was too tall, had already won an NBA championship and had been a member of the Dream Team that took a collective dump on the basketball world in 1992. In the 2003-2002 season, it was getting clear that Robinson was declining in skill, and his minutes per game were the lowest of his career, and his points per game had declined to his lowest total ever. Thankfully, he had another Hall of Famer in his front court with him in Tim Duncan, and the Twin Towers went on to defeat the Nets in 6 games to win their second championship and send off the Admiral into the sunset. For his career, the 7'1" Robinson won an MVP, 2 rings, was a 10-time All-Star, scored 71 points in a game, and by all accounts was as humble and gracious as you could expect a Naval Academy grad and military-raised person to behave. Nothing snarky to say here about David Robinson, truly a class act and a deserving Hall of Famer. Number 2, Ray Bourque. Hockey's version of, man, we really ought to get that guy a ring, comes in the form of Ray Bourque, the longtime elite defenseman for the Boston Bruins who had suffered through many heartbreaking playoff losses during his 21-year career. And during the 1999-2000 season, it looked like Bourque, the 6-time Norris Trophy winner for being the NHL's best defenseman, would end his career not having hoisted the cup as the Bruins were devastated with injuries. Bourque, knowing his time on the sheet was coming to an end, requested a trade so that he could have one last shot at a winner. Harry Sinden, the Bruins GM at the time, carefully selected the Colorado Avalanche as the team he thought Bourque would have the best shot at winning a cup with, and sent both Bourque and now fellow Hall of Famer Dave Andreychuk to the Avs for some no-names and a first-round pick named Martin Samuelsson, who played in 14 total NHL games in his career. Anyways, Bourque would play half a season with the Avs before his final year in 2001, when the Avs looked incredible, making a deep playoff run in which Bourque scored the game-winning goal in Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and then in the decisive Game 7, the Avs got Ray his cup. Joe Sakic broke protocol and handed the cup to Bourque first, who hoisted it in front of his home fans, but really, he hoisted it for the Boston fans too, who suffered along with Bourque for nearly 2 decades. It was definitely a feel-good moment, even though it was patently orchestrated from the get-go. Screw you, Bettman, this is the one time you actually got something right.
And after 22 years, Raymond Bourque!
Number 1. John Elway. Up until Super Bowl 32, John Elway's career had been pointed with incredible success and marred with Super Bowl failure after Super Bowl failure. Until, of course, they pulled off an incredible upset over the Green Bay Packers and helped put a stamp on Elway's outstanding Hall of Fame career. Except Elway wasn't done, and he came back for yet another year, his 16th NFL season, to make a run at the prize. And they steamrolled, starting the season 14-0 and pretty much marched right to the Super Bowl, where they dismantled Eugene Robinson and the Falcons 34-19, and Elway was able to put all the previous failures behind him and even pay it forward by getting another slow white Bronco a championship in the final year of his career as well. Agree with my list? Can you find one for baseball? Leave a like, comment, follow me on Twitter at 5pointsvids, and don't forget to subscribe. I'm 5 Points Vids, and you made it to the end of this video.